Over the last 10 years, there have been 21 managers for Watford. Make that 22. Welcome, Tom Cleverley, to the fold. Aaron, welcome back to the Watford View. We are obviously going to be discussing the main topic that everyone's speaking about right now, which is the sacking of your manager. How are you, first of all?
Yeah, not too bad. Just another very normal day to put in Watford.
I've got a feel for you because we have been joking all year on this channel. We've been making jokes at Watford's expensive, or you haven't set your manager. What's going on? And now he has. It's like people just kind of shrug their shoulders. I mean, every managerial sacking we've had has hit headlines. People have been talking about it. Radio 5 have covered it. This sacking, it's almost like well, it's Watford. What do you expect?
Yeah,
It's a bit weird. All right, let's get straight into it. Was it the right call at the right time, or 2 or 3 matches too late, or would you get into the end of the season?
I think it got to the point where even as much as I've totally abstained from the thought of sacking the manager this season, I think the run that we've been on and the position it's now left us in the table has meant they've sort of had their hand forced. We went from being 6 points off the playoff places to very quickly now being 6 points off the relegation zone. And as much as some people might think, there's no way that they'd drop that far down, I think when you're sort of in this momentum of free falling and just losing week on week, you have to consider the possibility is very real. And as much as I didn't want change, I think it sort of had to happen now.
Yeah. How much though? I've seen a lot of chatter this week. How much are people though going for Pozzo and recruitment and saying, well, if we've talked all year about a proven goal scorer. You've obviously been missing that. Is it unfair that the manager carries all the blame for this? Because surely the owners have got to carry a little bit of the can here.
Absolutely. I mean, that was actually my opinion back when we sacked Slaven Bilic last year. I think, yes, the run we've been on is awful. And it's sort of the way it works is when you leave January, that's it. The only thing you can possibly change at your football club beyond that point is your manager. So I don't think it's the case of, Val was doing such a bad job, it was all his fault, he had to go. I think he was sold up the river in a lot of respects. That January window was never going to be enough. I think the fact that we went into the window and come out of it with -1 senior player is frankly a disgrace. I think that's disgraceful. Yes, he brought in Dennis, and that was great. And I mean, unfortunately, he's not quite firing still. He's been to Turkey and he looks sort of unfit, and he's not quite at the match fitness you require, especially in the English leagues. That being your only signing, it's frankly not good enough. And Val has to take some of the blame for the recent results, like any manager should, but he was absolutely not given a fair shot, in my opinion.
It was looking good, wasn't it? Though for large parts of the season, you've struggled in the early parts, but you got it going again just before Christmas, and we're actually talking about Watford being, playoff contenders. Actually, one of our videos actually was our Watford, heading for promotion. Is it just that the squad is so thin that injuries, tiredness, fatigue, or are the fans' biggest frustrations more with how tactically inept some of your performances have been, least of all the weekend against Coventry?
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely is a bit of both. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there is a squad smaller than ours. I'm fair 95% sure I can claim that. The squad is tiny, and in key positions, the depth isn't even good, and especially as we've already mentioned up front. I mean, those two are at best bottom half championship strikers. To think you can get the playoffs using them for a whole season it is cloud cuckoo land level of thinking.
Okay, so last time we talked about Ismael on this channel, then what's been your Ismael highlight that you remember him most for?
I mean, obviously the 5-1 win at Preston was great. I do think that at the start, and especially when we were on that good run just before the Christmas period, he really did bring back some mentality. We could actually go to a Watford game we could be 1-0 down, and we could go, oh, do you know what? I actually still have faith we might come back. But I think that's the big telling sign, and that's sort of how we all knew that it was going to have to change eventually. We've totally lost that. Like from end of January onwards, whenever Watford went behind, you went, these guys aren't going to come back into this game, are they?
All right, before we talk about Tom Cleverley, then let's talk briefly about the Coventry game. What did you make of it? Coventry deserved winners in the end?
Yeah. And this is what, that game sort of summed up Ismael's whole tenure. The first 30 minutes, we played on the park. The first 30 minutes, Coventry really looked like they were in trouble. And I thought, you know what? After that, we had a decent end to the Swansea game, and I thought, oh, maybe we actually are building on something. And if we had carried on that game playing like we did in those first 30 minutes with the intensity, we were winning all our duels, we get the goal, you're thinking, all right, did you know what? Maybe we're going to stick for a manager and it might turn around here, and we might actually be all right. And then it was just the most Jekyll and Hyde second half to first half ever. We conceded the penalty late in the half. I mean, Daniel Bachmann's come back in for 2 games and reduced 2 errors, which is, I mean, that's the kind of decision that you're asking to be sacked. When you've got Ben Hamer playing out of his skin, he makes one mistake at Millwall. That's not, considering the amount of mistakes Bachmann made before Hamer came in, how you can drop Hamer for one mistake is, you're asking to be sacked at that point.
Yeah, I saw one tweet that said giving Bachmann a 5-year contract is up there with one of the worst decisions that Duxbury has ever made. Okay, let's talk about Tom Cleverley then. So first of all, for those of us which are neutral and obviously don't follow Watford in and out like you do, what sort of a job has he done with is under 19s? Is that right? Is
under 18s?
Under 18s, sorry, right.
Yeah, no, I believe they're second in their league. From what I've seen, I follow the academy stuff on their Twitter page. They're always posting the results. The under 18s have been doing really well. I think they made one of the cup finals. Yeah, second in the league. So he's definitely doing a good job. Obviously, the club released a statement. He is just sort of interim, and they've announced his coaching staff today, which are actually all people he's sort of been in and around with the training ground. We've got our women's first team head coach. We've got his assistant from the 18s. And we've got our technical director and head of development, Jimmy Gilligan, I think, joining them as well. From looking at the move they've made, I think we'll see him obviously in charge for Birmingham. I think should we win that game, we probably won't bother making a managerial change because they'll sort of see that as, all right, we're almost safe. Let's see if we can get a couple more points and we'll think about getting a new manager in the summer. However, if we lose to Birmingham, I think they'll get a firefighter manager in over the international break.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about some of the names that have been linked then to the next post. Obviously,
I know the one you're going to say. I've seen it.
the odds are out. I'll go through them in the order of the favourites on the bookies website, and just give me your initial reaction. Going yes, no, or maybe. I'll let you give a maybe. Scott Parker.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. When I saw that come out this morning, and it did come from a source that sort of hit and miss, to be fair, I absolutely, that can't be the appointment. He of course he's gone up with Fulham and Bournemouth. He was with squads that were majorly too good for the league. This squad is not majorly too good for this league. We're going to need a lot more than Scott Parker to really get this team going and get the club sort of further at the table. Yeah, that is not going to cut it, and I'll be extremely disappointed if that's the appointment they make.
All right. Obviously, Troy Deeney's names get mentioned. Were you surprised that he didn't perhaps go for Troy in the first place rather than Tom?
There was a big sort of rumour that he might come on the coaching staff with Tom while towards the end of to see out the season. It was after he was recently on a Big Watford podcast, Do Not Scratch Your Eyes, did a big special with him. It's a great listen if anyone wants to go and have a listen that hasn't yet. And he actually spoke about the club tried to get him back on the coaching staff in the summer. Before he took the coaching job at Forest Green, he was originally going to come and work with the academy and then also work with the first team and potentially even be a player coach. But for whatever reason, it didn't materialise. Would I like him back at Watford? at some point as a coach? Sure. Should he be a first team coach or a head coach? Absolutely not yet.
Okay, right. Other names then that are in the running. Crikey, there's so many on here. I've got time to go through. Is there any names that you've seen that you are you've been impressed by so far? I mean, seen Patrick Vieira's name pop up today. Even John Eustace, who you're going to obviously play against Blackburn. Things are going well there.
See, that's one that if it doesn't work out for him at Blackburn and they move on from at the end of the season already, that's one I would be interested in. Obviously, he's former club captain. There's a lot of affinity with Watford. I quite like what he did at QPR. He was doing a good job at Birmingham until their owners had a bit of a Watford and sacked him. So, no, that out of those names, that's what I'd like. I made a really big point. If we are going to go for a manager to the end of the season, and I don't know how plausible it is, because I'm not sure on his health. I know he was unwell. But if we need a manager to see out the season and make sure we stay in the league, then give me Nigel Pearson tomorrow. I think he did such a good job in trying to keep us up in the Premier League. He's such a likeable figure. He gets the club and he gets football. I'd bring him in. Yeah, like I said, bring him in tomorrow.
Okay. So you're thinking that if you beat Birmingham, that's it. You're going to be okay. If you lose to Birmingham, they're going to panic and they're going to need a Nigel Pearson, or they're going to need a Sam Allardyce kind of figure to keep them up.
It generally hangs on this game that much. I don't know if you've looked at our run. I think, has anyone got a harder one than that?
I think Blackburn have got a tougher one. They've got to play all four of the top four. But other than that, it's tricky. All right, let's bring in our Birmingham fan then, and let's get him reassuring you, Watford fans, because if ever there's a team you probably want to go and visit at this moment in time, it's the Blues. Good evening, Adam. How are you?
I'm all good, Mark. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. So Aaron's saying that this is a must-win for Watford. Crikey, if it's a must-win for Watford, what is it for Birmingham?
We say every week it's a must-win for Blues, and we just don't do it. Listen, at the minute, I think our game on Tuesday is a bit more important than Watford at the minute. I think if we lose Tuesday night, it's our game in hand with Middlesbrough, and Watford becomes a massive 6-pointer for us. I think the next 2 games for us could make or break our season.
Yeah, I mean, there's some Blues fans saying that you've got 2 winnable games this week. I suppose that was before the manager got sacked. I'm disappointed yet another manager gets sacked just before Birmingham plays them.
Listen, I feel like all the luck's going against us, and so is it our time to go this year? I'm starting to believe it is. I don't feel like we ever do that great against Watford either. But listen, I see Aaron saying he wants John Eustace in. Go and get him now, because he's awful, mate. I wouldn't. I think Mark knows well and truly what I've been saying about him all season. So, if you want a manager like him, go and get him. We have a chance.
All right, let's get some score predictions for this game then. So these sides have met 51 times in all competitions, the first time being in 1931. There's only ever been 1-0. That's incredible. There's always a goal in this game, usually for Watford. Aaron, you can go first. Trip to St Andrews. Are you heading to the game, by the way?
I am.
Amazing. Okay.
I'm going to try and be optimistic. I'm just going to hope that old new manager bounce rears its head again. And I'm going to say 2-1.
Okay. Tom Cleverley being the dugout for this one. Adam, predictions from you?
Well, yeah, I predict us to win every week, and we don't. So I'm going to predict us to lose, hoping it has the opposite effect. Okay. I'm going to go 1-0 loss, hoping it's the opposite. Just because I'm sick of saying we're going to win and we never do.
Massive game, this one at St Andrews this weekend, Birmingham against Watford. Cheers, Aaron, for joining us. And if you're a Watford fan and got any ideas who you want your next manager to be, you know what to do. Put it in the comments below. Cheers, fellas.